All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're just chilling in the house. It's a lot of rain, and I wanted to answer some questions that a lot of people have when it comes to other people buying cars. Now, I think I have a lot of people closer to my age watching my car channel than I do my tech channel. I have a lot of people in the 40s and 30s on down watching my tech channel, but on my car channel, the age is closer to my age, which is 50 and above. So 50 to 70, 50 to 65. I have a lot of people watching me, but there are lots of young people that watch this channel. But a lot of people ask questions about money. They say, well, how much did you pay for your car? And how much did you pay for your truck? And how much did you finance that for? Did you finance it? So, and also the situation with the GMC, I want to discuss that again too. I want to give you some more information on that as well. But when it comes to people online, and I know, now let me start by saying this, disclaimer, I know a lot of you guys are like me. You know, after years of doing certain things, you learn the process, and you know it's more to just a person telling you what they pay for their car. But there's a lot of people out there, younger people that are under 50, and they don't know. They're not getting, and so they go to the internet and they think that they might get the same thing that somebody else is getting. Well, that's just totally not true. So when you start to deal with buying things as a younger person, everybody out there had experienced, if you've never experienced bad credit in your life, then, you know, hey, I'm not saying you didn't live a little or you didn't make mistakes, but most people have had some form of bad credit. Whether your credit really tanked or you just wasn't paying your bills on time. Something has happened to you at some point or another if you've lived a little. Because you won't experience any kind of success or happiness or really joy in your life if you don't fall on your face. You have to fail at something. So when it comes to vehicles, I'll be honest and say at one point I have taken like a 9 or a 10% when I was younger, thinking that those rates were great. And technically at the time, they were good for back in the day like that, depending on what your credit score was. Now, back then, my credit score was between 600 and 700 the majority of the time. When I was in my 20s to my late 30s, almost 40, my credit score stayed between 600 and 700 because I was buying a lot of stuff. I was using my credit cards up. I was doing all these different things, and I was financing everything. And, you know, some of those rates I was taking back then, I was talking to my wife and I said, man, we took some horrible rates back then. But by today's standards, people who are getting a 10% are doing pretty good. So the black Corvette that you saw me post in another video, if you didn't see it, I was like, you know, I wanted to get this. But remember, I couldn't fit in the Corvette comfortably, which is why I went with a Camaro. And there's a guy who bought that Corvette, and he paid 7.5% for that Camaro, and they wanted $90,000 because they had it that Corvette. I'm sorry, they had it marked up to $90,000. So, and he also didn't order it. You know, I didn't order that Corvette. It was just one that came in. But it's so strange because I wasn't willing to pay that $15,000 markup that they had on that car, and somebody else did. And he also paid. He got a rate of 7.5%. or something like that, and his score was like mine, 800 plus. And I thought, wow, this guy's gonna have a heck of a payment. I don't know how much he put down, but I inquired about that car with the dealer, and they were like, yo, we sold that car. That guy paid 90 grand for it, and he also got a rate of 725 or 7.5. And I was complaining about the 3%. I'm used to getting, I'm not gonna say I'm used to getting, I can get 2% or less on vehicles when I decide to finance them, depending on what the market is. Now, a disclaimer, my youngest is 26. He's been in finance for a long time, so I do get a lot of tips from him when it comes to the market. Hey, when is a good time to buy? Which banks and credit unions I always try to go to credit union when I can because they're a lot better than banks. But most of the time, I'll walk in with a check or I'll have my approvals done so I can just go straight to finance if I decide to finance. And that's pretty much how I've bought the cars that I buy when I finance, because I have paid cash for cars before. But when it comes to people continuously ask me, well, how much did you pay for that? I bet you have a high payment. Well, the answer is no, I don't, because my rates are 3 or less. Now, by today's standards, depending on how much the car is, like my truck was 58 or 60 or like something like that. So the payments are not what you think they are. And because I'm willing to drop 10, 15,000 down on the truck or something like that, And now the Silverado was a cash, that was 36 grand. So I said, okay, great. But the GMC, I said, you know what? I'm not going to buy cash on this GMC. That's cash money. Something, and I'm so glad man, you have no idea. I'm so glad I did not pay cash for my GMC Sierra, because I would be furious right now. And I definitely would have taken a different route if I'd have paid cash for that truck. And I would be pushing harder out. I think I would have a different mindset if I did not, if it was a paid off truck and it was brand new like that, I would have a different mindset. But since I financed it, and I got obviously a fantastic rate because of my credit score, and then I also put money down. I put a big chunk of money down because I want a budget to not have a bill, and I'm planning on paying it off sooner. So the big chunk of money I put down doesn't matter because I'm getting it back and then some for the new truck. So, but people often ask, and it seems like I get it from people that are a little bit younger, like under 50, or age plays a part. I'm not separating everybody, but I tend to get these questions from people who I can look at their profiles and, oh, they're fairly young. So they're just trying to get information and respect. We got to help each other out. Just like I always tell you, I don't know everything. And so I'm looking for all of you guys to help in areas that I don't know anything about, especially with the diesel vehicles and just trucks in general. I don't work on cars, but I know how to drive them and customize them. That's about it. It's fun. So when it comes to getting a good interest rate, people, you have to remember, and again, if this doesn't apply to you, just let it fly. And then also engage and let other people know your advice on financing vehicles too. Because a lot of people will tell you this. I've watched videos on YouTube and people saying, don't finance cars, just pay for it. If you can't afford it, you shouldn't be buying it. Those rules apply to me in some areas of my life. And here's where I apply those rules. My credit card is 0 interest rate. I also have a black card as well. But I do not spend frivolously. I do not swipe my credit card if I cannot pay it in full the next day. And you might say, well, Joe, why would you even swipe your credit card? It's a convenience factor. And I get points on everything. I get 5 points on every dollar, basically. So I have so much cash back on my credit card. And what I tend to do is I'll save it to the end of the year, or 2 years, I'll let it build up, pull it out, either give some to someone. Well, I give money all the time to people, but I'll give it to my wife, or I'll just do something with it, buy somebody something with it. I try to utilize those points because I just cash out with it. One time I bought, I spent a whole bunch of money. I took all that money and bundled it together and gave it on a gift card to someone at the Apple store or whatever I did. And not just a random person, but a family member. But when it comes to people telling you not to finance things, I try to remain humble in the fact that everybody doesn't have a chunk of money, and everybody's situation is different, and everybody's credit is different. So the key thing about buying a car, and I don't rag on people for having bad credit because I had bad credit. I don't care I don't rag on people for having a higher car note than me. That's not important. The point is they're going to be happy with what they've done in their situation. And I've made bad deals myself, folks. I have made bad car deals. And I learned from those car deals not to do that again. So after you've made some mistakes in the same area, you should pretty much pick up on, I better not do that again. And when you're presented with it, no matter how good the car looks or whatever it is you're trying to buy, you got to stand strong and not take a bad deal. So with the Sierra, put down a large amount of money just so I can get the payments to where it doesn't even matter. Like it's not a lot at all. And one piece of advice I would give a person, know, if you have a mortgage, or most people have rent. I have a mortgage. Most people have rent. More people have rent than you would possibly imagine. There's a lot of people renting. And no knock on renters. I rented for a long part of my life when I was younger. But your things that you're buying should never be higher. It just shouldn't be high. I believe you shouldn't be paying $2,000 in car notes and your mortgage or rent is $1,500. Those are just numbers I'm throwing out there. That is not smart. So if you have a bunch of payments on stuff that you're financing, you're probably living a little bit out of your means, and you want to make sure you always have a roof over your head. So try to keep your payments well under what your mortgage is, because you don't want your debt to ratio to go really, really high. Now, I'm not a finance expert. I'm just answering these questions that people post on my channel about how much you pay for your truck, how much you pay for your car. So the truck was $58. I put down a large amount of money, so the payments are not a lot. the Camaro, and my rate on the truck is 3% as well, I think. So that's not bad at all. Even with a person with a credit score like me, at the time that I bought that truck, you know, that's just what the rates were. That's the best rate they were giving with people whose credit score was 790 to 850. And I think mine was 810 at the time, or 807 at the time. So that's what they were offering. I can't do anything about that. You know what I mean? Like the credit scale goes to 850, and then sometimes they show a 950 scale, but right now the scale shows 850, and my credit score was 807. And so when it comes to financing something, your goal is to get the lowest rate that you can possibly get. And if you're sure you're going to keep something, if you're sure you're going to keep it, go for the longer term if you can get the lower rate, like the interest rate. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll raise the rate because you're going longer. But get the longest term you can if you're sure you're going to keep it, and then try to get the lowest rate within the realm of what they're offering at the time, because rates fluctuate every day, it appears. So try to do that. Because what you can do is, here's a mistake that a lot of people make. They make their car payments once a month. Folks, that is a mistake. Make a bi-weekly payment, because what you're doing is you're eating up interest and resetting the interest clock. If you wait, it's called the daily rate is what it is. And they're going to add on interest every day until the next payment is made. So when you make that payment in the middle, you're resetting the clock and paying less interest. So do not make your payment every month if you can. I shouldn't say don't do it, but whatever your situation is, try to make a payment in the middle of the month, and then at the end of the month, right before your payment is due, or basically make a payment, have the total amount paid before the end of your payment's due, about a couple of days before your payment's due, and then make sure you've done that 2 weeks prior. So, and I always pay extra. I pay a little bit extra to eat up even more, so you have less interest over time. That's just a quick tip for you. But my credit score is not the same as yours. You know, people often ask, well, how did you pay for that? And, you know, some people would even say, oh, I've had people say, oh, you got a bad deal. You know, like, well, those are the rates at the time that I bought the car. You know what I'm saying? So, I was just like, okay, which you want me to do? I mean, I didn't want to pay cash for this truck. This is just general conversations amongst other people. It has nothing to do with people online, but I've actually had people say, oh, that's a horrible deal. I know people that say, oh, I'm not going to have a car payment. My car's is paid for. Great. Some people want a new car, which is why they lease cars. And some people lease cars every 3 years. They get a new car every 3 years. Everybody has their own plan and what they want to do and how they want to buy a car. But for me, when I'm financing a car, I've never leased a car, so I always plan on keeping the car. So I'm making these choices based on me keeping it. Now, if something changes, I'm going to sell it off and trade it off or whatever I do. But the truck doesn't cost a lot. Now, the Camaro doesn't cost a lot either. That Camaro was $46,000. That's the price. I didn't pay markup. I paid a little bit extra because of my military. Same thing on the truck. And then any other money that I had them take off. Also on the Camaro, I got another $2,000 off or something like that. Because I told them when it came in, don't touch it. So I told them, don't put no license plate on. Don't put no, because sometimes some dealers here, they'll put a bunch of stuff on the car and say it's a package that they're selling, you know. But if you can avoid that, folks, try to avoid that. Don't let them do that. Try to buy it before it comes in. So with the Camaro, it's 46, and at the time I bought the Camaro, believe it or not, with a credit score like mine, this is at the same time the guy was buying that Corvette. We were kind of at the dealer at about the same time. Now, the rates, also what I want to tell you is, rates are determined on the vehicle too. So if I were to buy something like a Chevy Equinox, they would honor my 1.5% or my 0%, because those are cars that the majority of the world probably are buying. You know, those are fuel efficient. They're good economy cars. The Malibus, I could get a Malibu with 0% or 1.2% or 1.7. This is what they were offering on those cars. But the Camaros, the Corvettes, they say, oh, those are going to sell regardless. So we're not going to give any discounts on those. And we're not going to give really good rates. This is not the car dealer. The finance companies aren't willing to do that because people are going to buy those cars. And I was like, man, so I'm sitting there talking, and it's like, the guy was like, the finance manager comes out, and they were offering me a 5.9%, basically 6%. I was like, absolutely not. I was like, no way. You see my credit score. You see the money that I'm actually getting ready to give you down on this car. Because I was like, okay, I put it out there. I told him, I said, listen, the car's 46. I'm going to give you half. I'm going to give you half of whatever it is. So if it's 50, I'm going to give you 25. The car is 46, 48 or whatever, something like that was the total. I said, I'm going to give you half. I'm not paying you 6%. And it's not them, but it's just the rates they were trying to offer. And I told him, I said, normally when I buy a car, when I do my own approval, they lower the rate based on the amount of money that you're financing, and then also they can see that you're really committed, and they're gonna, this guy's putting down half on this car. We gotta give him, we gotta offer him some more incentives because he's willing to do that. He's showing us he's really gonna keep this car. Because the end goal is the finance companies want you to keep it and pay for it. Because they want to make their money. But also, they want to make money off of people. There's a lot of people out there with really bad credit who they're really getting the money from. They're paying astronomical prices per month for the same car. They're paying a lot of money. I see people, I just watched a guy, and I love his honesty. He's paying $600 and something a month for a 2018 model. But his credit score was much lower than his credit score was 680 or something like that. And that's with 83 months. But everybody's situation, for him, that's a great deal based on what he's doing in his life. You see what I'm saying? So, and technically, 680 is really high, much higher than a lot of people in the world. And if you feel comfortable posting your credit score, post it. I'd love to see what my viewers' credit scores are. It doesn't define you, but I'm just saying a lot of people always ask, well, how much did you pay? And I keep telling people there's a whole bunch of variables that go into what you pay for a vehicle. So in my situation, when I say I'm gonna put down half, that drops my rate dramatically. And I threw that out there. So he goes back to the finance people, and the finance guy goes back and started working some more numbers, and he still comes back, well, the best we could do is 5.0 or something. I was like, no thanks. On the Camaro that you see out there now. Because I told him to hold the car, and then at that time, that's what it was. At that time, it wasn't here yet. It was about 2 days out or something like that. No, it was 7 days out. It was about a week out. He said, it'll be here on this day. And she was trying to get me to buy it ahead of time. And I was like, no, I'm going to buy it, but I'm not just going to buy it for 6% rate. Now, humbly saying 6% is not a bad rate. But what they're doing is, like I said, in that same day, they're offering me 1.2 and 1.7 on an Equinox or a Malibu. And I was like, no, thanks. You know what I mean? They weren't offering to me, but they were showing me that it's just that car, those Camaros and Corvettes. The finance companies are raising the rates. I'm like, cool, because they cost more and they're going to make more money. So I said, no thanks. No thanks. I'm not giving you half of this car down, paying off half of it, and then still taking a 5 or 6%. Absolutely not. I said, I normally get 3 or less, or 2 or 1 or something. And I said, I'm not taking that with an 807, because my credit score was actually back. It was 805 actually, when I bought that Camaro. And I'm like, I'm not taking a 6%. I'm not that other guy. And also, they didn't tell me, I don't know that other guy's credit score either, who bought the Corvette, but he accepted a 7.5 and paid 90 grand, $15,000 markup. And he took a 7.5, but for him, that's a good deal. There's no deal that's not good. Whatever you think is great and you love it, I love it with you. If you're comfortable with doing that, knock yourself out. I refuse to have a bunch of high car notes that go way more than my mortgage. My mortgage is really, really low. So I'm not going higher than on a car note than my mortgage. And I have multiple cars. So I said, hey, no, I'll go do my own approval. So I sat right there instead of leaving the dealer because I really wanted the car. And this dealer sells cars quick. Most of the ones on the list were taken. You know what I mean? So I was like, I gotta snag this. So I sat at the person's desk when the finance guy left, and I did my own approval. And they were like, okay, Mr. Williams, we'll give you, that car was only 48, they were asking or something like that at the time. And they was like, okay, we'll give you 65. I was like, I don't need 65. I did a pre-approval, so they gave me 65. And I told them, I said, listen, okay, I'm not gonna use all this money, so I wanna get it a real number, so I wanna send you a deal and mark my rate because of that. And then something happened, and they still were trying to say 5 because at that time, a week before I got this car, that's what the rates were. And they said, Mr. Williams, we're sorry. That's just the rates. We know you have a really good credit score. Not, you know, you've got money, income, whatever. You got a nice down, but that's just the rates. I walked away. I really wanted that car sitting in the garage. Don't you know? About 4 days later, maybe 3 days later, the rates changed, and it went down to 3%. I couldn't believe it. And what it was they were running, the rates were still the same basically, but they were running a special for a short time. I called back up. I said, hey, on your website, this company is offering 3. What's up? They was like, oh, snap, you're right. Come on down. I went down, bought the car, put a big chunk down, and that's it. You know, with an 805 credit score and a large amount of money down. And I didn't have to put a large amount. Actually, and also, let me be clear, let me be honest, I actually didn't put half down after that. I said, no, I'm not putting down half because I'll still get a fantastic payment. I did put down a big chunk though. I didn't put half. I put just under half down. And you know, that's what I did. And so I have a really good payment on that, matching the truck. And now that doesn't have, you obviously, and this is why I don't like to talk about how much did you pay? Because when people post things about what they pay for their car, they don't give you a broad enough spectrum of, they're not going to tell you the truth, or they're going to omit. I'm not going to say they're going to lie. They're going to omit the information that's probably the most vital to you. And me, I'm just going to tell you, my credit score was that. That's what the car cost. The rates I was able to get was a 3. So a 3 and a 3 is fine. And then, and I could also refinance later if the rates go down. But the reason I try to get a low rate up front is because every time you run your credit, those inquiries stay on there for 2 years. And so I don't want a bunch of inquiries on my credit for the same thing, car shopping every 6 months. I'm not going to do it because inquiries stay on your credit for 2 years. And it just makes your credit score drop. Now, I don't use my credit cards, even though I have a large limit on my credit cards. I have 2 credit cards, big limits. But I float a little bit of money just to show activity, to let the companies know, okay, this guy's going to use it. You know, even though I have 0 interest rate, sometimes I'll float. Like right now, I only have a balance of $381 on my credit cards. I have $381 on one and $411 owed on the other one. Obviously, I could pay that off, but I'm just floating that for activity to show history and payments. Building credit is not hard, but I think some people just are ready to go from poor to excellent without the work. Everybody wants to get to the finish line, but they don't want to do the work. And I told you at the beginning of this video, I didn't always have great credit. I had decent credit, and then I had poor credit. I went from decent credit to poor credit, and then to decent credit to really good credit that I have now. It took some years. I mean, but that's between the 20s and the 40s. And once I got past 40, I was like, I'm getting ready to just do it this way. Make sure I can always buy what I want, always finance what I want, you never know when you're gonna need your credit. So when people get online and say, I bought this car and here's what I paid, there's so much more to that story that they're probably not telling you. I've seen very few people post their interest rates or what their monthly amounts are, or what their credit score was. They just post the stuff that's gonna make you excited and get you to thinking that yours is gonna be the same. So believe it or not, I get a lot of questions in the comments. Well, how did you get the car for that price? How did you not pay markup? As far as the markup goes, I just tell them, no thanks. I'm not paying markup. It's just that simple. I'm not paying markup. Simply put, no thank you. I can wait on something else. And because the Camaros, that Camaro and other Camaros on that lot are actually marked up between $2,000 to $5,000. But I was like, I'm not doing it. And I think a lot of times people who accept those deals are people who either don't know how to buy a car, afraid to say no, or their credit, they don't have anything to fight with. And I also had the dealers tell me, the salesperson tell me that. They said, you know, a lot of people who come in are almost afraid to negotiate because they don't have the best credit or they don't have the most income, so they don't have anything to fight with. And fight with meaning you just don't have anything to go back at the finance guy and say, no, no thanks. But when you walk into a dealer and you have income and you have good credit and you have $10,000, $15,000 down, it's very difficult for that dealer to tell you no. Because they know you're probably, even though they want the interest, they want to sell the car. The finance company is going to deal with the interest rate and the money back or whatever, but they want to sell the car. So the people, the dealers are not too quick to try to let you leave. They're like, no, this guy is a guaranteed sale. Remember, the dealer just wants sales. And then they want to get you in finance to sell you warranties and all this other stuff. So there's people online that say, don't buy warranties. And I used to tell people, don't buy the factory warranties. But if you plan on keeping the car, remember, you got to work your own deal. You got to work your own deal. If you plan on buying the car, the truck, the whatever, buy a warranty if you want one, folks. But when you buy that warranty, you make sure you're still within your budget. You make sure that you're negotiating for them to drop the price on that warranty, because they're going to try to sell it to you at the highest point. And a lot of dealers, when you walk in, you get to finance, they start showing you numbers that are not really your payment. You got to say, well, what's my real payment? Take everything off and show me what the car costs, and then work that way. Because anytime I have a car that I'm going to finance or something I'm finance, I always say, what's the price with nothing? And let me decide what I want to do. You got to do that, folks. I used to tell people not to buy warranties at in finance, but you can get some pretty decent warranties. Like one that I always get on vehicles is the oil change inspection. There's an oil change inspection, and it's like 4 different things in one. If you lose your key, you get key replacement, windshield, tire and wheel, oil changes, and car and state inspection. If you're at a place like those types of things, only cost like $300 or $400, and you can just say, well, I'll just buy that. I don't want to put that in my financing. I've done that before. Those are ones that, because I have to get we have to get the vehicles inspected every year, 1 to 2 years. Depending, like if it's a new car, it's 2 years. But if it's it's just a car, or the car, you got to do it every year. If your car goes past, you got to do it every year. So that's and inspections have gone up where I live. So paying $300 or $400 up front to get 5, 6 years worth of tire rotations, oil changes, and inspections, to me, that's a good deal. $500. I paid $400 for that for 10 oil changes. $499 for 10 oil changes, rotations, and 4 inspections. I thought that was a pretty good deal because one inspection is like $90. See, you have to do your own, but depending on where you live, you'll determine what's the best deal for you. And then as far as maintenance on the car, well, the Chevy factory warranty isn't very good. It's not like Hyundai. It's not like 5 years, 60,000 miles. It's still that crap 36,000 miles or 3 years. So you determine how you want to add a warranty on if you want to add a warranty on, folks. You do what you want to do. I'm not going to get on video anymore and tell you, don't do that. The deals are robbing you. Because if you do want a warranty, you got to try to negotiate that warranty too to keep it within the range of your payments. So a lot of people have asked me about my new truck that's getting built. My truck that's out there right now is a 22 Sierra 1500, and it's a Duramax. So the engine, folks, itself is clearly working like it's supposed to. My problems are with the exhaust and emissions and something with the radio and the backup camera. A lot of experts come out in the comments, respect, but it's easy to just, I look at everybody's comment and respect everybody's comment, but I can see the people who are actually mechanics and the way they talk and just the people who actually have a lot of detail about it. It's easy to throw out there, do the lemon law, blah, blah, blah. People started telling me that immediately, but eventually I hung in there, and GM is building my new truck, and then when it comes in, speaking of finance and whatever, when it comes in, the little balance that I have on this truck, this other truck costs more. So I'm not gonna do another credit check and all that stuff. They're gonna replace that vehicle with this vehicle, and then they're gonna submit it for not the $70,000 for that truck is gonna come to. They're gonna submit it for even less to whatever my balance is on the current truck. Do you see? So for me, that's a win-win. I get a huge upgrade in a truck, and I get a 23, and I go back to a V8. that is why I'm willing to wait on this truck and work with the dealer. So is it difficult to wait? Of course. Am I agitated? Yeah. But I think I've exhibited now that I have a little patience. I'm willing to wait, man. And then the car came in too. So I'd actually ordered a convertible Camaro like this anyway. It just wasn't an automatic. But that deal, I had to cancel that and get a refund. And then I just ultimately put the money towards this automatic that came in because it came sooner. It came faster, and it was this exact same car minus the RS package, but it was the exact same car and a 6-speed. And so I was willing to go ahead and take this because I really wanted it. So that also helps with the weight of my new truck. Having the Cadillac to drive, having the Camaro to drive, that helps offset some of that frustration, because folks, want to tell you, I am really agitated with the process of having to have my truck in and out of the shop. Now, I haven't even taken it back to the shop. The camera keeps going out. There was some issues with, now sometimes it wasn't getting fuel, and that was pretty frustrating. But, you know, I'm willing to just keep waiting, because I talked to the director. He was like, just drive the truck. If you have problems, bring it back, but just keep driving as long as it's running, and your new truck will come in, and I'm just going to swap it out for you, period. And you're not going to pay the full cost either. And one thing I will say about that, they're tacking on that $1,500 for the 3 years. And he was like, well, you're not even have to pay that, because we're going to take care of that anyway, because of so much money credit's going to give you. I was like, okay, I got you. So that's another thing. I've canceled everything on this truck that I had. And now it's just the little balance that's left. And they're just basically going to swap out my new truck for this truck. And I just start there with a small balance due on a 23 that's loaded up fairly well, folks. It's just that I have to wait. And patience is a virtue, yes. But I'm human, and it's extremely frustrating to wait so long. But I know in the end, you know, like I said, this truck was going to go either way. You know, if I would have done the lemon law, or if I would have just sold it off or sold it back to them, it's going to go either way. But I'm really thankful and blessed to be able to continue to be patient and wait for my new truck to come in. But I have the Camaro. I have other things to entertain me while that truck is getting built. I do have another very long trip coming up, and I'm postponing it because I don't want to take this truck that far. It's like 22 hours. I don't trust it, because when I drove to Oklahoma, it was like not getting fuel sometimes. I'm like, ugh. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just praying that my truck is here before like the middle of December. Now, we're almost at the end of November. It's the 21st of November. Anything is possible. So by the end of December, I'm trying to have my new truck parked out there. I'm really, really praying that it is out there by the end of December, so I can move past this point and start getting back to the videos I really want to post, which is, hey, I might customize this, or I might do this to the truck or whatever, because I stopped everything because of all the problems. So I am working on the wheels. I've contacted the company. I have to call them again. There's 2 directions that I want to go on the Camaro: 20 by 11 on the rear, 20 by 10 on the front, or 22 by 10.5 on the rear and 9.5, 22 by 9.5 on the front. Concave wheels, both styles. I'll show you those once I make a decision, or whichever one is in stock first, because they're both back ordered. So, well, the 20-inch one is in stock, but I really want the 22 by 10.5 for the rear, because it's such a deep concave wheel. And the 20-inch wheel is just a ZL1 type wheel. So it's gonna be a fat rear end on there. So you let me know what you think. 20 by 11 on the rear, ZL1 type of wheel, and 20 by 10 on the front, or 22 by 9.5 on the front and 22 by 10.5 on the rear with a really deep concave. It's gonna be so nice. But anyway, it's your man Jay, man. Enough talk. Some of your questions, I hope I answered them good enough for you. If I didn't, leave a comment down below. But that's where we're at right now. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll keep you posted on the 23 Sierra 1500 when I get more footage on it, or when I get more information on it. So right now, it's just getting built. So I'm really praying that it's here by the end of December. I really am, because I'm really ready to move past this chapter and get it going. Because I'm probably the plan was to pay off this truck like quickly, but I took that. I was like, I'm so glad I did not, and that money is just going to go. And then I'm going to pay off. I probably will just pay off the 23, and just call it quits on that. So I just pretty much won't have a car note because the payments aren't that much at all on either one of them. So it's your man Jay. We guys enjoyed. Let's talk some more. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.